Alright, let's go. The Eagles are back at the link for the first time in nearly a month. Yet despite being massive favorites against the Panthers, why is Kellen Moore changing up the game plan? And it's looking like we're about to see a new weapon in the Philly offense. Meanwhile, Bryce Young has played at an impressive level the past couple weeks, but the Philly pass rush is only getting better. So let's talk about what to expect on defense, why this game isn't a trap game, and everything else ahead of Week 14. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Well, the Packers didn't do us any favors in Detroit. Despite scoring on 5 of their last 6 drives on Thursday night, it was the Green Bay's Swiss cheese defense that couldn't get it done. I mean, literally, every time the Packers took the lead in the second half, the Lions immediately marched down the field to regain the lead. Heck, even a turnover on downs from their own 31-yard line wasn't enough for Jeff Hafley's side to hold up their end of the bargain.
It's all ruined. It's all ruined! It's all ruined!
To be fair, there were at least a couple questionable calls for the Detroit Chiefs late in that game. And amazingly, Dan Campbell's aggressiveness somehow amazingly did not cost the Lions. However, I'm honestly not worried, even though yes, the path to the 1 seed for the Eagles got a whole lot more difficult. Since now, given the Lions a win, the Eagles will need Detroit to lose twice in their final 4 games and for Minnesota to lose to even have a chance at the top seed. Now sure, it's clearly not impossible for that to happen, but I'm curious how you guys feel coming away from that game. I mean, me personally, seeing that group, I'm totally convinced we can take Detroit, whether it's at the link or even at Detroit. And there's more than a few analysts who would agree with that notion.
Are the Lions the best team? They are not definitively the best team.
Defensively, this team, to me, is head and shoulders above what the Detroit Lions are. Now, when you talk about the offensive side of the football, Saquon Barkley can do everything that both Sonic and Knuckles can do together.
It might sound crazy to some at first, but despite how good Gibbs and Montgomery have been, Saquon is on pace for the same amount of yards between both of the Lions running backs. And it's not like Detroit's ground game has been bad. Heck, they're 4th in the league. But they just don't have near the run blocking that the Eagles do on the O-line, and they don't have Superman. So fast forward to this week, and if Saquon ran for 107 yards versus the Ravens' #1 rush defense, then what do you think he's going to do against the Carolina Panthers? Which is why now is the perfect time to get signed up with Underdog. All you got to do is scan the QR code and then use my code PHILLYSPECIAL with your first time deposit. And I mean, you could take so many of these lines, like a Saquon longest rush over 20 yards, Saquon to score a touchdown, fantasy points, or even over 110 rushing yards. By the way, pair that up with one other pick and you could win big, because shout out to Underdog, but right now they're giving all first-time signups who use code PHILLYSPECIAL a free pick in the lobby along with up to $1,000 bonus cash. Oh yeah, also as the official sponsor of the channel, they're also helping out with this signed Saquon Barkley helmet giveaway. And considering that this could go down as the greatest season by a running back in NFL history, I don't know of a better giveaway. And it seems like he'll keep that up because the future All-Pro squares off against the NFL's worst rushing defense this week. For real, like Bucky Irving is good, but he's no Saquon Barkley. Yet Bucky ran for 152 yards and a touchdown while being named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week last week. And not only that, but since their bye week, Carolina has given up the most yards after contact in the league while also allowing the 4th highest explosive play rate. So it would be idiotic to not include the Eagles MVP in a parlay this week, which is why I'm going with Saquon to have a longest run of 20 yards. I considered yards or fantasy points here, but my only fear is that the spread being 13, he may not get enough touches in a blowout. Anyway, I also took Jalen Hurts to throw 2 touchdown passes as I think he finally has multiple scores in this one, Bryce Young to throw an interception, and then lastly, DeVonta Smith will get at least 9 receiving yards in the first quarter.
Count me in.
It's such a low number, and I've got to imagine with Smitty coming back from the injury that Kellen Moore not necessarily forces it, but gets him going early. As always, though, good luck to you, gamble responsibly, and I've got a link to tell the plays down in the comments, so feel free to do that and then swing by the live stream so we can sweat out the picks together.
There you go. You got it.
The middle.
You got it. You got it. Ah, he's going to do it. Oh, my gosh.
The 10. Yes, I got it. Yes. No flag,
Touchdown.
right?
We didn't need it at all. Did not need it at all, but why not? Just hand it off to Saquon.
Yes.
You're going to win.
Yes.
That is more than enough than what you need.
I know they love their fans, but I'm sure teams don't love their fans. We can't stand their fans, but nah, Philly fans, they love their team. That's all I can tell you about Philly. They love their team, and they throw stuff at you. They do everything, and they talk the most junk out of any fans ever dealt with throughout my career.
I'm sorry, Jadeveon Clowney hates us? Like, how many times has he gotten away with some cheap shots? I mean, we haven't forgotten about him spearing Carson Wentz during the playoff game and leaving us with a big what-if afterward. And after hearing Clowney's take on Azeez Al-Shaair's hit on Trevor Lawrence, let's just hope the fellas can come out of this game healthy.
You got to hit them guys and just take the fine, I guess, at this point, because they are playing like they're faking, and it's messing the defensive guys up because they're running for extra yards.
It is funny how Clowney's now the sack leader for Carolina. Yet seeing that he'll be matched up against Jordan Mailata in the game means he should be kept quiet, since according to PFF, the Aussie is the highest graded player in the entire league. We're talking about all positions, not just left tackle. By the way, technically Charles Harris was the leader in sacks for the Panthers until they waived him, and now he's an Eagle. Of course, we haven't seen him much at all, but perhaps that changes, especially if this thing turns into a blowout. Still though, you tell me if you thought this was ever possible. Since week 6, the Eagles have the most sacks in the NFL. And the best part is, they're doing it as a collective unit.
I feel like, man, when everybody's on 10, playing as a defense, it's very hard to stop it. We have fun out there. Jalen makes a play, Coop makes a play, Quinyon makes a play. It doesn't matter. Like, on defense, it don't matter who makes the play. Everybody's turning up. Everybody's happy for them. And I think that's just one of the things that, we can feed off each other in that way.
I just testify to our coaches, man, our D staff and our coaches upstairs, just pushing us and showing different guys doing different things and really striking and using their hands. And, for me, Coach Wash hold us to that standard. Strike, use your hands. And, he was an offensive line coach at one point, so he coaching, he know towards the end of the season, that's what the O-line coaching, so he giving us the same pointers.
The fact that they're doing this without Bryce Huff and given the Hassan Reddick regret just really speaks to the whole underdog mentality the whole unit has. And it also helps to have one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. Which, looking into this Panthers game, Jalen Carter should get multiple opportunities against right guard Robert Hunt, who despite Carolina signing him to a big contract this past offseason, he's given up a team-high 24 pressures and 4 sacks this season. But ultimately, this one comes down to stopping the away team's best weapon, and that's Chuba Hubbard, who's actually 6th in the NFL in rushing yards. Although like we've seen in past weeks, especially against Baltimore, the Birds' defense has been up to the task. So even though some have been throwing out the notion of a trap game, especially with Bryce Young playing his best football over the past 5 weeks, Vic Fangio isn't overlooking the former first overall selection.
Just in the full operation of their offense, I think they've done a good job of coaching him. They have a really good running back in Hubbard. They feature him. They're running play action and boots off of that run game. So I think they've done a good job in their entire offense of finding out who they are within his quarterback abilities.
We expect to make plays, expect to be efficient, and we're all kind of just talking about details when it comes to those conversations.
You can't take anything lightly. We can look back on last year. We lost to Arizona. They weren't doing too good last year, and we lost. But you treat everybody the same. You prepare the same. You put in the work the same. So we're not taking nobody lightly.
All right, that's definitely the right approach to have, although I understand there's a little bit of nervousness and PTSD from what happened last season. Because like AJ mentioned, and we all remember, the 3-12 Cardinals beat Philly with 15 more first downs, 174 more yards, running 25 more plays, not punting the football once, and scoring touchdowns on all 4 of their second half possessions. But you can see the comparisons of this year's team and last year's teams are headed in entirely different directions. Which is why when asked about his prediction for the game, Panthers beat writer Walker Clement said he'd go with a 43-15 score prediction that Philly rolls. Plus, their front 7 already has a difficult enough task as it is, but with Jadeveon Clowney, DJ Wonnum, and Josey Jewell all questionable this week, that run defense isn't in for a good day. Especially since all signs are pointing toward the Birds unleashing their new weapon in fullback Khari Blasingame. I mean, let's not forget that it was Blasingame that said it was the opportunity that sold him to come to the Eagles. And with the Birds already being down their previous hybrid fullback and starting tight end, it only makes sense we'll see him. As Sirianni and Kellen Moore have made it abundantly clear that the look with the fullback is only going to increase with Philly having success there. FYI, when Ben Van Sumeren was blocking at fullback, the offense was averaging over 6 yards per carry. Now I get that sometimes these signings don't amount to much, but Blasingame automatically makes this ground game better. Because guess who the lead blocker was for Derrick Henry when he ran for over 2,000 yards in Tennessee? Yeah, that'd be Blasingame. And what better way to get him acclimated and used to this offense before Philly hosts Pittsburgh next week? Like I said, the Carolina run defense is already bad, but add this on top of it, and it ain't going to be a fun day for him. Also, wide receiver Jalen Coker is listed as doubtful as well, so I just can't see how Carolina keeps this one close. Of course, seeing as though a bettor in Kentucky wagered one of the largest NFL bets ever at $3.1 million on the Eagles' money line makes me question if he jinxed it.
Don't you put that evil on me! Don't you put that on us!
I mean, it's cool to have that kind of cash, but I just don't understand. $3.1 million to win $442,000? Anyway, it's not like the Eagles won't be without a few players as well. Since Reed Blankenship is still recovering from the concussion, meaning Tristin McCollum will fill in. And Sidney Brown didn't practice either and is out. But like I mentioned earlier, the offense is just about at full strength. Minus Dallas Goedert and Britton Covey. although Grant Calcaterra has filled in really well when Dallas has missed time. Yet seeing as though the obvious play is to run it, the Panthers have made it abundantly obvious that they will be leaning towards selling out for the run. So with Kellen Moore also searching for any kind of answer to start faster, this might be the game where they stop holding stuff back.
So there's some plays, at least the first half. I mean, we may break them out third quarter, but there's a lot of stuff that we don't show in the first half that we might save for the second half. So we've done that several times this year, and I wish we could do it for the game and get our first half going a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, we really have. We've been a second half team this year, but coming up, the first quarter has been kind of iffy for us. So if we could just match the momentum of what we do in the second half to the first. But I think a lot of it's just the way we adjust. We have our game plan, and then a lot of times, teams now are switching to 5 down and doing stuff that they don't normally do. So, that's really what it is.
To counter what's happened early in games, have you guys thought about not doing scripted?
We've navigated this thing in a lot of different ways, and so we've talked about it. We'll talk about it again this week as far as just trying to find the best way for us to execute because, LA felt like we had a good drive going. Ended up short in the red zone this past week. Obviously, one first down, then kind of got stalled out, and so it's a frustrating aspect of our thing, and we'll keep working.
I'm not trying to be cute there, too. I understand most coaches will have scripts, but is there more flexibility perhaps you want to build in so that it does counter what a defense may be showing you contrary to what you were thinking? It's
definitely something that we've had a lot of discussions about it. Just different ways that we can attack the defense, play to our strengths. Kind of focus on us and then make the adjustments as the game goes that we need to make. And so, obviously it's something that, we've started slow, unfortunately, for too many games. And so it's something we got to do a better job of.
This is really like one of the last minor hurdles for the Birds to check off the box. Remember, they're dead last when it comes to offensive efficiency in the first quarter, but then second in the league in quarters 2 through 4. So I'm banking on a quick start for Philly where I'll go with a DeVonta Smith first touchdown scorer. By the way, you guys let me know who you have as the first touchdown scorer. And also, I'm going to be giving away a signed Jalyx Hunt jersey on the live stream during the game, because Thomas and I are partnering with Jalyx to raise funds for Philly area basketball schools. So if anyone wants to donate, all you got to do is scan the QR code. Of course, on that topic, we had to break down the upcoming matchup as well as put a little wager on the remaining Eagles schedule.
Carolina, it just feels like one of those games where everything should go right, and they should blow them out like the Tennessee Titan game at the Link halfway through the season in 2022. It's like maybe a little revenge game, Titans, A.J. Brown, we'll see, and it was over by halftime, and you just kind of moved on. The Titans were trash that year, and Philadelphia went ahead and got ready for another good football team after that, just like we do with the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up 2 weeks from now. So, should be fine, I'd say.
Yes, and just don't play with your food, as always.
Do not play with them. Don't get injured.
For sure. That's the other thing. Yeah, we don't need any of these other parts. Thankfully, Dallas Goedert, not a long-term or season-ending injury. Right. We'll see. It's kind of going towards the direction of, and if people didn't catch it or see, I guess I can find the tweet here real quick, but the Eagles officially signing C.J. Uzomah to the roster.
Right.
So that is...
But not putting Dallas Goedert on IR,
right,
which was interesting, right?
Yes,
I know interesting part there. So it doesn't mean it means he's not out for 4 weeks like I thought that he was going to be. I thought for sure they'd go IR, sign Uzomah, put somebody else up there. Not the case. So just week to week, he's not going to play this week, Josh, right? But correct. I think maybe the Steeler game is probably something he's pushing for.
Hopefully so. But again, I mean, it's good news regardless because of the position
it is
itself and what we need. The Eagles signing a fullback, obviously, as well. Khari Blasingame.
Very exciting.
Talked about that on the live stream last night. Shout out to Anthony.
What do you think of that?
Who was here earlier mentioning as well, had the stats for it. It's kind of crazy. It's I like it. It's just interesting. I don't believe that I thought that I don't know. I don't know that I would have felt like we would actually sign a fullback to the practice squad, not the roster, but still to the practice squad. Yeah, that's not more of your hybrid because BVS, Ben Van Sumeren, was that. But I think it tells you even more of, okay, this team, they're committed to the running game, but they love the looks they've gotten from I formation or just having any fullback on a field. So you look at a guy and say, well, you know what? There's a person out there on the street. We go ahead and bring him in. He's played fullback. He's gotten, I think it was like 600-something snaps offensively, 800-something special teams. So he has some versatility there for the special teams part as well. Why not? Bring him in. This team is the best running team in the NFL. They proved it for sure to go into Baltimore and do that. So I'm all for it. You want to out-physical, beat every team that way? You might as well. And honestly, they're really talking about Carolina. I was going to mention real quick as we're mentioning how to, not overlook them, take care of business, everything there. Really all that you need to know and all that you need to see is that, let me see if I can get this actually on the screen. There you go. So we're looking at the worst run defense teams in the league. And there you go. That is the number 32.
It's not good.
Last place, Carolina Panthers.
It's not good.
Not a good omen playing the Philadelphia Eagles. So if you have Saquon Barkley, the only caveat that I would say is to maybe not take his over is if this game, like you're saying, Thomas, if it turns into a blowout, your Kenny Gainwell picks lately might be the play, actually. So
it didn't hit this weekend, but you're right. If the Eagles start blowing them out earlier than like 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, whenever Saquon hit that touchdown this past week, the Kenny Gainwell over 13.5, higher than 13.5 rushing yards is almost a guarantee. So,
seems like
we'll see there. It's so fascinating when we talk about getting a fullback because he's not signed to the active roster, as you said. He'll get 3 activations in terms of the practice squad to the active roster. He played in 3 games before he has to be signed, hence why C.J. Uzomah essentially was signed, because Uzama's practice squad elevations, I should say, were over. But there are basically 3 types of running football teams in the National Football League, Josh. There are the running football teams that have a good offensive line and an average to below average running back, right? So the offensive line creates great holes. Running back can't help but run through them, and they're a good running team. Next is what Saquon Barkley was on, a bad offensive line, but a very good running back who creates lanes himself. He sets up his blocks. He hits holes that you don't necessarily see, and hence why Saquon had 1,000-yard seasons, his rookie season specifically, with the Giants. And then you have the Philadelphia Eagles, who have a great offensive line that creates insane running lanes, plus a running back who creates his own running lanes, and it's the perfect combination. I think Philadelphia, like you said, ran I formation, offset I formation, used the fullback and run plays 20 times so far this season, averaged like 6 to 7 yards per carry, and went, this would be great in 28-degree weather at the link in January in quarter number 4. This would be exactly what the doctor ordered in a one-score game with 6 minutes left against the Detroit Lions, and you need to run the football to win. Put the fullback in, create the lanes. Saquon finds them. They hit another home run. The game's over. Point now, 8 weeks in, where Philadelphia, let's say they run the table the rest of the way, and we're getting ready for the divisional round as the 1 seed in Philadelphia. Josh's stash needs actual media attention because Josh is the biggest Eagle media person in Philadelphia right now, and his stash has been the reason why we've been on this run. A Philadelphia Inquirer article on Josh Davis and the Magical Stash would 100% do crazy numbers if it continues to be magical. But, odds are we will. I mean, I don't know what odds are, but I feel like we're going to lose again, maybe. I mean, Pittsburgh is the game, right?
Okay.
I don't know. I say
money on the
loud,
table.
like,
do we lose again? Do we lose the game again?
Oh, money on the table? Yeah. If you ask me right now and I put $1,000 on the Eagles winning out, I would say no. And that's just because I think Pittsburgh is really good. Okay, Pittsburgh is the last, and I don't want to say test because we passed every test, right? The Eagles are a great football team. They could lose by 20 to Pittsburgh, and I will still buy into them, right? But I think that the Dallas and the Giant games are going to be very interesting because both teams have nothing to play for, and Philly might not as well. I think the Giant game could be a very interesting game where if the Eagles don't have the 1 seed locked up, like let's say they lose to Pittsburgh, and then Detroit obviously has taken the 1 seed, Philly's going to rest everybody for the Giant game, and they could lose that game. And now Philadelphia beats Pittsburgh, and let's say they, get close to the Giant game, but then, of course, Detroit hasn't lost, and so strength of schedule or whatever the metric is tells you that Detroit's going to be the 1 seed. Again, they sit because they take their own little bye week to get ready for the divisional round, and so I would bet that they lose one more, but I don't know. I don't feel great saying it. I just want to say Pittsburgh is a very, very, very good football team right now. That is going to be what I think a lot of us thought the Ravens game was going to be in terms of like close, competitive, fourth quarter down to the wire, because the Ravens game really wasn't. Pittsburgh's the real deal.
Okay. They are. I'll agree with you. They are absolutely.
What would you do? $1,000. $1,000.
If I had to.
You had to.
If I had to, I would say that we do win out. Because here's my thing is, I agree with you that out of all the remaining games, and people see it on the screen, obviously, Pittsburgh is the game. Now, no discredit to Washington. Washington's given us fits at times to sweep them as well. If you're coming off of a tough Pittsburgh game, going to at Washington, but still, I think Pittsburgh is the game. If you get past that, for me, it's like you're playing for the 1 seed regardless. If you've beaten Carolina, you're still playing for it. If you've beaten Pittsburgh, you're still playing for it. Then there's Washington. If you beat Washington, you're still playing for it. And then Dallas and New York are just Dallas and New York. I mean, again, no offense to them, but like if you've won those 3 games, then you're playing for everything at those points. You're not going to slip up and lose, or I don't think you're going to.
Well, and something that, as I argue against myself here, Dallas and New York don't want to win those football games because they want to get a high draft pick because they want Quinn Ewers or Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. And so, I don't know. I argue against myself. Why don't we do a little wager then? Let's do it. Maybe not $1,000. $1,000 is a little much. Okay. What if
You're the one throwing out the numbers.
$20, $100? What
$20.
The problem is that I'm wagering against something I don't want to happen, right? Like I don't want to lose.
Well, I know, but you said it though.
I do, yeah. What do you want to do? 20 or 100? I'll let you make the call.
Okay.
We've never had a wager.
We've never. This would be the first wager of the Wednesday link.
90% of the time.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say. A lot of people here. Someone saying 1K. What's the payout? Yeah, we're not doing 1K.
We're not doing $1,000. If I told my wife I was betting Josh Davis on Eagles wins and losses for $1,000 right now, I think she would skin me alive.
Mine too. Should we come back out and be like, "What did you just do?" Like, I know you believe the Eagles, but huh?
Yeah. I don't know.
I would say I'm good with $100.
Okay.
Sure. If you want to do that,
Messiah Armstrong said 50. You want to do 50 or 100?
Split the difference. Whatever you want. You tell me.
Oh, I sound like a baby not wanting to do it. Let's just do $100. There you go.
Okay.
$100. So you say they win out, which I would rather have happen. Just let it be known. People are thinking I'm like rooting against the Eagles. I would much rather that happen. I would think that they lose before the end of the season. So there you go. That's our friendly wager. So,
and you're getting great odds at this because they're even odds for both of us. So
are they even odds? Okay.
Well, realistically, if this was a Vegas like parlay, if I was just to take money line Eagles, money line Eagles, money line Eagles, money line Eagles, it would be a very plus odds for me. So you're getting a great deal. You're playing with house money here, but I'm confident in the Eagles. So
I
am
too.
Stash,
I just I do have the power of the stash. Hey Bear just said, what are we betting on? Just tuned in. We are now betting on. We don't normally do this. I think the Eagles will lose one more game the rest of the way. Don't want them to. I'm just saying I think that they will. Josh thinks they'll go undefeated, so we're betting $100 on it. So there you go.
Hey, how about this too, right? Because it's for a good cause, and we got the QR code up here, so people make sure to scan that and donate. If I lose before, or the Eagles lose before the 18th, because that's how long this deal is going to go up, that the loser contributes another $100 to.
There you go. That's the way to do it.
Jalyx Hunt and the Phillies.
I didn't even think
that way
about
it benefits
But
everyone.
if it's after the 18th,
then you can have it. Sure.
There you go. Okay. Deal. I
and
like
they lose
that.
it on
I
underdog.
like that. Yeah, I definitely will do that.
To wrap it, we should say score predictions, of course, in case we don't have the live stream
what is my
before the
game.
game. So Carolina, what was? We'll get the updated odds, of course. So let's see what it is as of right now. Carolina, it is a 12. Yep, 12. So Eagles minus 12.
Wow.
And, well, actually, it depends on where you look at. There's one here, looks like minus 12.5. So somewhere in that area. 12, 12.5, and the total of 46.
I think a lot of people will put them as like a backdoor kind of like underdog. You know, they're going to cover and lose by 10 or something like that. I was looking here at the schedule. They had a streak of giving up like 30 a game, dating for like a 5-game stretch, and then they only give up 23 to the Saints, 20 to the Giants, 30, but lost 30-27 to the Chiefs, and then they gave up 26 to the Bucs this past week in overtime and should have beaten them. I think Philly rolls. I think it's probably a little closer. Let's go 31-20 Philadelphia. We'll give them the cover, obviously, with the Panthers if it's 12.5 by the time the kickoff happens. But I'll go 31-20. I think maybe a little peskier. People say 45-6. 45-20 I see right here. Drake Mott, I don't know if he's related to me or not, 47-7. I'll go 31-20 and hope that it's like 31-13 in the actual reality.
Okay, I like that. Jorge says, I bet the under Eagles win 45-0. Okay. I mean, I'd like that, sure. The under by 1 point, and the Eagles win by 45. Take the Kenny Gainwell over, because if it's 45-0, Kenny Gainwell's run for 200 yards and 3 scores. So I'm going to go with, I'm thinking it's going to be, can the Eagles offense, it's like the question of how much offense can they get going. I'm going to say they get over the 30. So I will give them, I'm going to say 34. They score 34, and I'm going to say
They score 34?
The Eagles offense, sorry. The Eagles offense
gosh.
scores 34. No,
Sorry,
no.
I was like, what?
Sorry. No. Eagles offense scores 34, and where do I go with Carolina? Give me Carolina scores 17. I'll say 34-17.
I like that.
Win by 17,
I like that.
Eagles cover.
Yep.
Solid
There
victory.
you go.
All right, we'll see you guys in the game stream, and let's hear those score predictions. Go Birds, baby. This has been the Philly Special.